Yeah, good morning. This is like cinematic good morning. It's okay. Leave it. Yeah, now let's come to this question paper. It's not. I feel that this is not that difficult like the previous shift. If you see, the previous shift is having so many setback questions, and they went little hard on the student, but this is not so hard. It's like just like a breeze. You can feel like it's just like a summer evening breeze. You can feel it very happily. Yeah. Among the following species has the unequal bond lengths. First of all, I don't want to answer the question. First of all, let us see what are the structures you have and in which structure they have equal bond lengths or not equal bond lengths. Let us talk. sp hybridization, linear, equal bond lengths. sp2 hybridization, planar trigonal, having equal bond lengths. sp3 hybridization, tetrahedral, having equal bond lengths. Even though if you take sp2 hybridization, 2 bond pairs, 1 lone pair you have, even though you have 2 bond pairs and 1 lone pair, angular shape or V shape, they are also equal bond lengths. If it is having the same kind of surrounding atoms provided, I am saying. Next one, sp3 hybridization, 3 bond pairs, 1 lone pair, pyramidal shape, having equal bond lengths. sp3 hybridization, 2 bond pairs, 2 lone pairs, same bond lengths, no doubt about it. Next comes to sp3d hybridization. So when comes to the sp3d hybridization, 5 bond pairs, definitely you will not having the same kind of bond lengths, because trigonal bipyramidal, some of them which are present on equatorial position, 3 of them are present on equatorial, and 2 of them which are present on axial position. Equatorial will be having one kind of bond length and axial will be having another kind of bond length. Equatorial are little closer, axial are going to be little away from each other. Equatorial are having more percentage of S character, axial are having the more percentage of P character. Remember this. This is nothing but Bent's rule. That's why if I give you PCl3F2 type of molecule, more electronegative atom always occupy at the more percentage of P character position. More percentage of P character position. Therefore, where those 2 fluorine atoms are present, they are present at the axial positions but not at the equatorial positions. Clear? Next. For example, out of the 5 bond pairs, if I have 4 bond pairs and 0 lone pairs, now the shape is seesaw. 4 bond pairs, so 4 bond pairs and 1 lone pair if we have, that is a seesaw shape. When comes to the seesaw shape, that is how we can draw that one. Actually trigonal bipyramidal will be like this. Okay. Now for example, if I have seesaw shape, I will remove this one here. I'll be having the lone pair here. Okay. This is the bond pair, this is the bond pair, this is the bond pair, this is the bond pair. Definitely this bond length and these bond lengths are not equal. Am I right or not? Next one. For example, if I am talking about 3 bond pairs, these are 4 bond pairs, yeah, 3 bond pairs and 2 lone pairs. What is the shape? T shape. In T shape, equal bond lengths or unequal bond lengths? Equal bond lengths or unequal bond lengths? CLF3 Rabbi. CLF3 you know very well, na? CLF3. Now you tell me whether they have same kind of bond length or different. Definitely different type of bond length they will be having. Right? Next, sp3d2 hybridization. For example, now from there onwards, if you go to the again 3 bond pairs and 2 bond pairs and 3 lone pairs, it will be having which kind of thing? Linear. All bond lengths are equal, nothing but I3 minus structure. I3 minus structure. Next one, let's come to the sp3d2 hybridization. sp3d2 hybridization 6 bond pairs, all will be having the same bond lengths, no doubt about it. But 5 bond pairs and 1 lone pair if you take, 5 bond pairs and One lone pair if you take, that is something like BrF5. BrF5. It was already asked in JEE. BrF5. BrF5. Okay. Now you tell me what is the all of them, how many of them having 90 degrees bond angle? How many 90-degree bond angles are there? Zero. No, there is no 90-degree bond angle. We feel that actually what we feel, bromine, fluorine, 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 above one fluorine, below one lone pair. Because of the below lone pair, these fluorine atoms are not present on one plane. They will come up like this. Fluorine, 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 here one fluorine. Bond lengths are not equal, bond angles are also not equal. That's why there is one very good point in hybridization. I like that point very much. I really like it. The point is, whenever there is a lone pair, don't commit to the bond angle. Which means, I'll tell you something like this. H2O. In H2O, 2 lone pairs and 2 bond pairs. What is the bond angle? 104.5 degrees. H2S? 98 degrees. NH3? 107. It's okay, whatever. PH3? 97. So whenever there is a lone pair, you don't have any right to comment on bond angle. Bond angle is always subjected to the atoms which are present in that molecule. Got it? Cl2O, Br2O, I2O. Okay, which means OCl2, OBr2, OI2, something they said. Now you comment on bond angles. If you are dare to comment on bond angle, comment on it. Who is having the highest bond angle? OI2. Because actually their bond angles like this. Cl2O, Br2O, right? Now you just try to comment on these bond angles. Actually we feel these lone pair repulsions, but here these lone pair repulsions are very high, because here 3 lone pairs, here 3 lone pairs are there. Therefore 6 lone pair repulsions will be there. That's why it will try to come. But here this will come more, and here this one will come even more. That's why OI2 is having the more bond angle. So underline that point in your brain, not anywhere. That is, having a lone pair, you don't have any right to comment on its bond angle without taking the permission of that atom. If you did not seek the permission of that atom, you don't have any right to talk about the bond angle. Even I am telling you, even professors also never dare to talk about the bond angle when comes to the lone pairs which are present. JEE also never try to ask the what is the exact bond angle. They will try to ask you comparison. Who is having less, who is having more. That's it. See, almost like 50 years it's been started. How many times they ask the bond angles, exact bond angles? That is like almost like nothing. They will ask the comparison in bond angles. Who is having more and who is having the less. That's it. I just wanted to talk about that one. I guess answer you know very well. sp3 hybridization, XeF4, square planar structure, 4 bond pairs and 2 lone pairs, absolutely square planar. Now here the bond angles are 90 degrees and all of them are present on the same plane. SF4 molecule, 4 bond pairs, 1 lone pair, seesaw. This is the answer. SiF4, tetrahedral. Whenever you look at SiF4, what you have to remember? Etching of glass. SiO2 reacts with, last class only we discussed, huh? You are really disappointing me. SiO2 reacts with HF. Okay, it will give SiF4. Excess, H2SiF6, orthofluorosilicic acid. SiF6 minus 2 exist. SiCl6 minus 2 exist or does not exist? Exist, does not exist? Huh? Does not exist. SF6 exist or does not exist? SF6 exist and highly stable, whose dipole moment is absolutely equal to 0. It does not undergo hydrolysis also. SCl6 exists or does not exist? Now you came to the point. Out of all hexahalides of sulfur, only SF6 exists. SCl6 does not exist. CCl4 exists. CCl4 exists. SiCl4 exists. SiCl6 minus 2 does not exist because of the large size of the chlorine or small size of the silicon. Got it? CCl6 minus 2 exists, does not exist. Why? First of all, it does not have d orbital. That's it, na? If it has to show coordination number 6, it should be having the d orbital, right? It is not having the d orbital, no point of talking about it. So carboylamine reaction, CHCl3 along with KOH, whenever you treat, it is going to give you isocyanide. Right now? Simple reaction, as simple as that. Here isocyanide it will give. Where is that isocyanide? Yeah, there is isocyanide. Isocyanide is here. This one also anomer, alpha anomer, you know, only first carbon difference configurations. Those are known as the anomers. Now look at this. Look at this one. How many of you have answered this? How many of you have answered this? Everyone answered this? No? Yes or no? Bond will be polarized like this. Negative charge. Here we will be having the positive charge. H plus will go and it is going to be attacked at this position. So what will be formed here? Sorry. Of course, there is no need to show also, because anyway this is methyl group. And this plus will come and it is going to attack at the benzene. So now that is the answer. And we have already given one thing. You might get one doubt. That is, I'll tell you. The doubt also I'll tell you. That is rearrangement. That could be the one thing. Rearrangement can be possible now, sir. Here rearrangement is not going to be encouraged. The reason for the rearrangement not encouragement is you have NO2 group. What is this NO2 group? Electron withdrawing group. Lesser is the distance between electron withdrawing group and positive charge, stability will be decreased. Therefore, this carbocation shifting here or shifting somewhere, it is not at all going to be encourageable. That's why just forget about the rearrangement. Even there is some CH3 here, you don't expect that carbocation is going to be formed here. Of course, this is little easier. If they want to make complicate, they can make complicate like this. If they put like this, so most of them it will go wrong, because they will try to put the methyl shift. Maybe they will try to put the methyl shift. If they try to put the methyl shift, now carbocation tertiary will form. But tertiary at NO2 group is highly unstable. That carbocation is not at all encourageable. But they gave it is very easy, very simple, because they are very generous towards the students. So they got the answer. This is the answer we got. Yeah, correct sequence of the reagents used in the preparation of 4-bromo 2-nitro ethyl benzene. Ethyl benzene, 4-bromo 2-nitro 4-bromo 2-nitro ethyl benzene. Okay, good. Now let us talk about, or let us see this one. That is, we have to prepare it from the benzene, right? Benzene reacts with HNO3 H2SO4. What is the formed compound? Nitrobenzene. Nitrobenzene reacts with bromine AlCl3. What is the formed compound? Metabromo. So 4-bromo, no chance. Can I write or is it okay? Okay na? So if I write meta, it becomes 3-bromo, but it never be 4-bromo. So there ends the matter. I just concluded that this is not going to be my desired option. Bromine reacts with AlBr3. Good point. Bromobenzene. Wherever. That is the first position. That's going to be the bromobenzene. CH3COCl AlCl3. Two different types of isomers can be formed. One is ortho, another one is para. Of course, bromine is deactivating group, but still it is ortho-para directing group. Para will be the more major product because of the steric hindrance. So the product that it is going to be formed will be C double bond O CH3 Br. Sure? Next, they are trying to react with HNO3 H2SO4. They are trying to react with HNO3 H2SO4. So where the position I have to get, where on which position I have to get that one? On which position I have to get? Here only. No chance at all, because para has no chance. Para has no chance. Or another one also can be formed. What is another one? Br C double bond O CH3 NO2 minor. This is the major, this is the minor. Both chances are there. Both chances are there. Now they are trying to react with ZnHCl. Now they are trying to treat with ZnHCl. If you treat with ZnHCl, what will happen? This one also can undergo reduction. That is nitro group also, which means that it is trying to convert it to amine. So next, CH3COCl AlCl3, acyl benzene. Acyl benzene or acetobenzene according to you, okay, or benzyl acetobenzene. Then after bromine, I'll get para position. No. Oh, sorry, right. Yeah, metabromo product will be formed. This is not the one. Meta, which means 3-bromo, but I need 4-bromo here. This is not the one. Next one, CH3COCl AlCl3. I will get what compound I will get here? Friedel-Crafts acylation CH3. Now what they have done here, ZnHgHCl, Clemenson's reduction. Clemenson's reduction, carbonyl compound will be converted to alkane. So it will be converted to CH2CH3 Rabbi. Ethyl benzene is formed. Ethyl benzene, of course this is electron withdrawing group, but this is absolute electron releasing group. Is it correct or not? So therefore it is ortho-para directing group. This is meta directing, this is ortho-para directing group. Now bromination, I will get ortho-bromo or para-bromo. Ortho-bromo less stable product, para-bromo more stable product because of the steric hindrance. So I will get para-bromo. Next one, HNO3 H2SO4. I definitely get two different types of products. One is ortho position, para position. Since I have taken here already para position, another product also possible. What is that product? This is also possible, but this is minor, this is major. One is minor and another one is major. Clear, amma? Right? So, but it is very easy when you are in discussing the paper. But the only point you have to, for me, the master class here, what I feel is that this ZnHCl identification, because here also you will get the same kind of product, but you have NO2 group. You have NO2 group and you are treating with the reducing agent. SnHCl, ZnHCl, FeHCl, SnCl2HCl, or that means SnHCl. All those are able to convert nitro group into amine. Is it correct or not? Nitro group they will be converting into the amine. Those points we need to be little careful. That's why we'll tell whenever you go to the exam, we'll try to work out on the options sometimes. When you are trying to work out on the options, we will miss those kind of points. That is a vital point. Those points we will be missed out. Definitely will be missed out. So please work out everything and do it. That could be good. Because the question is easy. You should not lose your marks by your laziness. Next. Water does not produce carbon monoxide on reacting with. I am reacting with H2O. H2O plus CO2 ra. At low pressure, at high pressure, low temperature, nothing but carbonic acid. Whatever the condition, it does not give carbon monoxide because carbon dioxide is not at all an oxidizing agent. It is not at all an oxidizing agent. At any cost, it does not want to give its, it doesn't want to undergo reduction except under the situation. What happened to you? CO2 plus C upon strongly heated, then it will be converted to 2CO. Except under that situation, you take anything, you take any compound, if you are trying to react with the water vapor when it reacts with carbon dioxide, it always try to get dipole forces rather than taking the water from here. It is also having oxygen and it is also having oxygen. Where is the point of taking oxygen from this? No point at all. But you take here carbon monoxide when reacts with coke. Sorry, water na? H2O when it reacts with coke, we have this CO plus H2. This is known as water gas, which is also known as blue gas, which is also known as syngas. Right, because of blue gas. This water gas reacts with water. What does it produce? Water gas shift reaction ra. We already mentioned in the class, several times we mentioned in the class. What does it will take? No need to use brain much. Don't strain your brain. This is reducing agent. Right? It will take the oxygen from here. Therefore, it can be converted to carbon dioxide. And here you have, that's it, 2H2 plus CO2. Manufacture of hydrogen. One of the manufacturing method for hydrogen gas, which is also known as water gas shift reaction. Water gas shift reaction. Remember this. Water reacts with coke, gives water gas. Water gas reacts with water. Again, excess amount of water gives H2. Which gives H2. Interesting reaction. Quite interesting reaction. Remember that. And here these are all, it's okay. Incomplete combustion, you take any hydrocarbon, not only this one, you take any hydrocarbon, they can produce carbon monoxide, no doubt about it. Because carbon monoxide, it's a quite interesting oxide of carbon. It is, first of all, it is not at all a stable oxide, it's an unstable, it's an intermediate product which is formed during a reaction. That's why carbon monoxide, if you ask someone, what is the oxidation state of the carbon, does it having the +2 oxidation state for the carbon? We can say yes, we cannot say yes, at the same time we cannot say no. Because that is an intermediate, which is an intermediate compound. And we could say one thing, that is, it's a fantastic reducing agent. Remember, whenever you see carbon monoxide, you have to remember only one thing, that is, it's one of the finest of the finest of the finest reducing agent. Carbon monoxide reacts with ozone. What is the formed compound? Right, that's it. Because H2O is a fantastic oxidizing agent, that is a very good reducing agent, which means it is ready to give oxygen and that is ready to take the oxygen. So you could not expect more than this, isn't it? Right. Yeah. And correct SD character order. And here, first of all, we need to have one thing in our brain. Among phenol and carboxylic acid is a better acid. Carboxylic acid is a better acid. Electron withdrawing group attached to the carboxylic acid can increase SD character. Electron releasing group attached to the carboxylic acid can decrease. Okay? And phenols, whenever they are having the ortho effect, the SD character will be more. Remember this. Phenols, if they are having ortho effect, their Sd character will be more because of the formation of the intramolecular hydrogen bonding. So here that kind of scenario is not there. So that is very clear in my mind. I should give, this is the first preference, this is the second preference, third preference, fourth preference. Nitro group, which means electron withdrawing group carboxylic acid, normal carboxylic acid, electron releasing group carboxylic acid. I ended up with, I have done with the carboxylic acid, then I went to the phenols. Got it? Right. Do you remember this reaction? Yeah. If someone is there, those who remember this reaction? Not answer, reaction. I'm asking you the reaction. Anyone remember this reaction? 24th first shift, there is a reaction. This one. They have given products also. They have given percentages. If you remember, this is some 53%, this is some 48%, this is some. And what is the reason for the meta position? Do you remember it? Now you look at this. Same reaction. Removed percentages and they ask the question. That was the question. They have given percentages, they ask the reasons. Now they remove the percentages and they ask the same question. This is what the advantage if you refer the previous day question papers. If you refer the first shift question paper, you could answer this shift very easily. This is there, actually it is there. As it is, no doubt. So what they are asking, correct statement about the given chemical reaction is. What is the correct statement? Because I am using HNO3 H2SO4, anilinium will be formed. Anilinium will be meta-directing group. That's why I could get this one as the second major product. This is a major product, no doubt. No. I'm sorry, but don't do it. So anilinium, no, she is dragging her pen with the leg. Okay, if you want, I'll give you, no problem. Oh, okay. So anilinium will be formed. That anilinium, when it undergo nitration, it is a meta-directing group. Therefore, it will give the nitro group here. Got it? Actually, aniline is ortho-para-directing group. That's why para product formed more. That there is no issue at all. That is not at all an issue. Why it is formed here? Because of anilinium. Why it is formed here? Shivani, it is not diacetation. No, it is not. If they give NaNO2 HCl, therefore diacetation. This is HNO3 H2SO4, nitration mixture. Right, Amma? Right. Actually, if you remember, NH2 if it is added, just imagine, if only benzene is there. Do you observe this any time? I have given you nitrobenzene, aniline, benzene, nitrobenzene, aniline. And I am trying to do nitration. Who will undergo nitration very fast? Why? I need a little more polished answer, which means little more clarity I needed. Ma? NO2 is please, if someone knows, you can express your answers. I never estimate your intellectuality based on your answer. Don't think like that. I will forget at that moment only. I don't remember your faces also. Usually, repeatedly if I see, then only I can remember, otherwise not possible. Don't think like that. Okay, he is going to estimate me. No, never. I'll forget at that moment only. If anyone knows the answer, you can tell me. There is only one point. Nitration is an which kind of reaction? Nitration is which kind of reaction? Electrophilic substitution reaction. If it is an electrophilic substitution reaction, electron density should be there more. You went through almost 75%. Remaining 25% you did not tell. Benzene I have given. Aniline I have given. Nitrobenzene I have given. So when comes to normal pure benzene, comes to aniline and comes to nitrobenzene, Who can drag the electrophile very fast? Obviously aniline, because it is ring activating group. This is deactivating group. That's why you see here, then you can understand. If I put benzene, normally if you remember benzene, you want to do the nitration, what you will do? HNO3, H2SO4 less than 60 degrees Celsius, if you remember. Right? Huh? Then you will get, what product you will get? Nitrobenzene. Na? If you want to do second nitration, what you will do? HNO3 you will do, H2SO4 also you will do, and temperature should be maintained greater than 60 for 1 to 1.5 hours. This is a hell of a practical. If you started doing in the lab, you will be ended up with a SARO, no doubt, because you never get the product. That is what the saddest part of this reaction. You have to reflex it. First of all, preparation of the nitro mixture is going to be hell of a task. HNO3, H2SO4, if you start adding them, they have to be added at 0 to 5 degrees Celsius. But reaction should be carried at 60 degrees Celsius. Nitration mixture, just to prepare the nitration mixture, it will take half an hour. And after that you have to put for the benzene, less than 60 degrees you have to heat it. This is 60 to 80 degrees Celsius, you have to heat it for 1 to 1.5 hours. Look at this, how beautiful this is. Look at this temperature, yaar. 288, which is less than room temperature. Which means this group is highly active group. That's it. So now you started seeing phenol nitration. Phenol nitration, if you see, you are going to just add H2SO4, HNO3, that's it. No need to do anything. The reaction itself, it can take place on its own. No temperature also. Just add nitration mixture to that one. The reaction will take place just like this. Ring activating group, phenol. Ring activating group. Take carboxylic acid. Try to do the nitration. Not possible. You have to heat more than room temperature, almost up to 60 degrees. But the biggest flop for the decarboxylation is, if you heat it, carboxylic acid will lose the carbon dioxide, converted to benzene. That is the biggest drawback. Are you getting my point? So these are all the ones you have to understand after completion of your chapter. Ring activating group, ring deactivating group. So what will happen with the electrophilic substitution reaction? Why I am asking this? Maybe some 24th second shift there was a question. Nucleophilic substitution reaction order they asked. Picric acid, something they have given, they asked something nucleophilic addition. That is a nucleophilic addition. Now for nucleophilic addition, what is the order? Nitrobenzeno, benzeno, aniline ra. What is the order? First nitrobenzeno, then after benzeno, then after, because this is electrophilic substitution favored, nucleophilic substitution disfavored. Right? Huh? Right. That's it. The simple points, those kind of simple points, if you remember, you will be in, definitely you can attempt the exam very easily. Does it exceed 50 degrees? Definitely. Which question? Which question? After this one? Huh? Yeah. See your notebook, this is there. And we already mentioned that fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine, whenever, when we are talking about the bond dissociation enthalpy, fluorine is having the less bond dissociation enthalpy because of Clausen's rule. Clausen's theory, I told. What is the Clausen's theory? Actually, bond enthalpy is directly proportional to the, inversely proportional to the bond length. So, for fluorine we expect more bond enthalpy, but because of the lone pair repulsions, it will be having the less bond dissociation enthalpy, even lesser than bromine. This is straight away, this point is there in your notebook. This one, have you want to see the environmental chemistry? No? Don't want to see? I'll ask you one question if you don't want to see. Can I ask you one question? Why pH of rainwater is less than 7? Of course, even I am not asking you 5.6 and all. I'm asking you a simple question. Why pH of rainwater is less than 7? Ma? Due to presence of? Correct. When water is coming in the form of the rain, it will combine with the carbon dioxide which is present in the nature. Carbon dioxide plus H2O gives rise to H2CO3. H2CO3 gives rise to H plus plus HCO3 minus. This H plus, when it combines with the water drop, converted to H3O plus, this is enough to talk about the pH of rainwater. pH is less than 7 and it is not just like 6.9 or 6.88. Look at this, 5.6. This is absolutely true. It is there. And I underlined it. If you see, I underlined it. 5.6. And even it is going to be less than that. So if pH of rainwater is below 5.6, that is what we can call it as acid rain. Because more the number of, for example, what she said, like sulfur dioxide. Usually carbon dioxide is present. Carbon dioxide is not a pollutant. Normally it is present because of all these bioorganisms, these biological systems which are living here. Carbon dioxide exhalation is a normal phenomenon. It's not like new phenomenon. Sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxides, oxides of nitrogen, if they are present, therefore oxyacids of nitrogen can form, oxyacid of sulfur can form, therefore pH of that water is going to be brought down less than 5.6, therefore it becomes acid rain. Okay, right. Yeah, German silver. I word this logic for you, so maybe I'll take a time and I will go through this one once. Okay, don't worry about this one. I remembered someone messaged me some day before yesterday or yesterday, sir, what about the logic for all the alloys? So I am waiting for the time little bit. So what about this one? Which of the following complexes ions are arranged correctly with respect to the decreasing order of the spin magnetic moment? Fluorine for iron, weak ligand or strong ligand? Weak. Ammonia, cobalt. For CO plus 3, Cr plus 3, Cu plus 2, ammonia is a strong ligand. Then what about this? Weak ligand, na? For Na plus 4, remember this. Chloride is a weak ligand, no doubt. Na plus 4, strong ligand. Then what about this? Copper ammonia, strong ligand or weak ligand? First of all, there is no point of strong ligand, weak ligand if it is a D9 configuration. If once you cross D8 configuration or D7 configuration, it doesn't matter first of all. Okay, of course, we remembered like that, that is okay, good point. And there is a big story behind this, now. If you remember, Cu, NH3 taken 4 times plus 2, there is a big story behind this. Actually, we thought that it is having sp3 hybridization. Then after we started thinking about the dsp2 hybridization, then after we started ended up with sp2d hybridization. Do you remember this? Yeah, here there is no. Can we discuss this? You will do it now, right? Yeah. So which of the following compound which is added to? Remember again, chromatography which is asked in the last paper. That is also practical organic chemistry. This is also practical organic chemistry. Sodium fusion extract. For what sodium fusion extract to be prepared? For what sodium fusion extract to be prepared? Why? In order to estimate heteroatoms. What are heteroatoms? Except carbon and hydrogen, remaining all of them are heteroatoms only. To estimate the chloride, to estimate the bromide, to estimate the iodide, to estimate the sulfur, to estimate the nitrogen. For all this, we will prepare sodium fusion extract. How many of them are going to the laboratory now? Done with the lab? No? You done? What is the sodium fusion extract? Have you prepared? No? Take a small amount of the organic compound and put it in a small, I guess, the preparation of sodium fusion extract you don't have in the +1, +2 level. What you will do, you will take a small tube. In that small tube, we will put some amount of the organic compound. We will put a small amount of the sodium metal in that one. We are going to heat it to the red hot, till red hot. We'll put it in some little kind of what we can china dish, and we are going to grind it. That is what we can call sodium fusion extract. So adding an organic compound to the sodium metal, small amount sodium metal, and we are going to grind it out. We'll filter it. The filtrate is going to be removed off, and that filtrate we are going to take out, and the residue we are going to remove off. And now that filtrate, whatever the filtrate we have taken, that filtrate we are calling it as sodium fusion extract. Whenever you take the sodium fusion extract, you will add a little amount of the nitric acid. Why? Because of if there is any reducing impurities are present, they can be oxidized. That is why we will use. Because of that reason we will use it. Okay? It is there clearly which is mentioned. Actually it was, this concept was there in your first year. You might have missed it, but please go through this one. Practical organic chemistry, every paper they are asking the question. If you started seeing Liebig's method, Carius method, that is what I told, na? Chromatography they already asked the last paper. Now this is the one. You are preparing for 70, 75 marks and you are expecting 80, 90, that is not possible. Law of conservation of mass. If you prepared for 60 or 70 or 70, 75, you will get maximum 75. Prepare for 100, then you will reach up to the 85, 90, 95, 100 also. So that's why improve your preparation. Use your brain, little smart enough with the preparation. Yeah. Which of the following statement false for hydrophilic salts? First of all, hydrophobic salts, hydrophilic salts. Water repelling, water attracting. What are hydrophilic salts? What are hydrophilic salts? AgI is a hydrophilic salt. Gold solu, copper solu, those are all hydrophobic salts. Hydrophobic salts has almost the same density as with the water. Hydrophilic salts more density as with the water. Refractive indices of hydrophobic salts is almost same with the water, but refractive indices of hydrophilic salts is less with the water. Am I right or not? Right now? So hydrophilic salts are highly stable, and at the same time they are reversible, because if once they coagulated, after adding the water they will come to their original normal colloidal state. But when it comes to hydrophobic salts, they are highly unstable. That's why we have to apply Brady's arc method. That platinum metal and all we have to put. The entire total method we have to follow. That's why it is not so easy to prepare the hydrophobic salt. In order to standardize or stabilize the hydrophobic salt, what we will do? We will add a little amount of hydrophilic salt. That is where we got the goal number. Right? Yeah. So I guess now the answer could be little easier. The viscosity is of the order of the water. This is for hydrophobic, not for hydrophilic. Yeah, that is answer. Now the salts cannot be easily coagulated. Can be easily, just you add. Right. Next, they do not require electrolytes. They require electrolytes. They are asking incorrect statement. Next, these are reversible in nature. Yes, they are reversible in nature. Right? Yeah, look at this solubility of CaOH taken twice of water. CaOH taken twice gives rise to Ca plus 2 plus 2OH minus Rabi. S 2S 4S cube is equals to 5.5 into 10 power minus 6. S cube is equal to 5.5 divided by 4 into 10 power minus 6. S is equals to 5.5 divided by 4 into 10 power minus 6. Got it? Stupid calculation as it is. But if you want, if they want to make this problem little more interesting, they can ask like this: what is the solubility of CaOH taken twice if pH is 12? What is the answer? pH is equal to 12 ra. pOH is equals to 2. OH minus ion concentration is equals to 10 power minus 2. Now Ca plus 2 plus 2OH minus. This is 10 power minus 2. This one I have to calculate. S into 10 power minus 4 whole square is equals to 5.5 into 10 power minus 6. That's it. Answer will be very easy. Now Ca plus 2 concentration is equals to 5.5 into 10 power minus 2. 5.5 into 10 power minus 2. They can make little interesting and little complicated, not like this. Giving these kind of calculation, where is the point? They can test like this. Okay? And last problem, if you remember, AGCN they asked. Do you remember? And K values of HCN also they asked. Yeah. So identification of Na2 plus is carried out by rosy red PPT. Rosy red will be formed here. True. It is there in qualitative analysis. Na plus 2 identification. Cation. For cobalt plus 3, green color. For Na plus 2, rosy red. Should not forget all those things. Dimethyl glyoxime is a bidentate neutral ligand. Is that correct or not? Glyoxime. Shura. Tell me what is the type of ligand this is? Tetradentate ligand. Denticity is equals to 4. But it will use 2 because of at the cost of hydrogen bonding. Or what we can say that? Cyclic. There is a technical word. Forgot that name. Yeah. Thank you. Chelation. Because of the chelation, they got the extra stability. That is why they will use only denticity 2. Not for this one. That is also not for this one. That is a glyoximate, not glyoxime. Na plus 2 reacts with the glyoximate, they will get the chelation. Its density is equal to 4. EDTA, what is the density? 6, right. Oxalate, what is the density? 2. Oxalate density is equal to 2. En, ethylene diamine ra. Ethylene diamine. 2 amines. 2 nitrogens are there. 2. Next. Yeah, H2 plus CO, which means a HCHO will be formed. It is almost like anti-Marconi capsule. CHO can be formed. CHO will be here and H will be here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 carbons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. One H will be here and one CHO will be here. I forgot the name of this reaction. What is the name of the reaction? Formylation. Formylation, yeah. Formylation reaction, yeah. Look at this. The method which is used for the purification of indium, not only indium, if you remember, we mentioned one small point at the time, that is tinnu, siliconu, boranu, gallium, indium. For all these are going to be prepared by which method? Zone refining. And we mentioned that zone refining, there is another one more shortcut to remember. That is, they are all can be used as semiconductors. And they are all, most of them are metalloids. Remember this. That's why they can be prepared. Next one, Van Arkel's method we know. What is the Van Arkel's method? Reacted with iodine, an impure compound, they will form a complex. Then that complex is heated to high temperature. Therefore, by leaving the iodine, they will give the pure compound. What compounds we can prepare like that? Zirconium. Again, if you heat this one, it is going to give zirconium plus 2i2. One. Another one, boron. Another one, zirconium, titanium. 3 are there. Zirconium, titanium, boron. Right? Liquation that will be used for those who are having the less melting point, like zinc, okay, like lead, for them we will use. Zone refining, this is the answer for this. Vapor phase refining. One of the vapor phase refining only Van Arkels ra. Vapor phase refining, there are two methods. One is Van Arkels, another one is Mond's process. Mond's process can be used for the purification of nickel. Nickel reacts with 4 moles of CO, gives NiCO taken 4 times. Upon heating, the temperature is also very less temperature, if you remember. Very less temperature, 60 degrees or 70 degrees. So it can be converted to Ni plus 4CO. Okay? Yeah, this is quite interesting question. Very, very good question this is. CH2OH oxalic acid. Generally, if you just see, whenever an alcohol reacts with carboxylic acid, what is the formed compound? That's it. It will give ester. Esterification will be done. So now here also CH2OH I will take, CH2OH I will take plus OH, C double bond O, C double bond O, OH. Now what does it form? Now what we are going to do here, that is, this is an ester, and what you are doing here, if you react this one with this, it forms an cyclic ester. It's a cyclic ester. But what you are doing here, you are heating to high temperature. Decarboxylation can be done. Two moles of carbon dioxide. Here one radical, here one radical. Now I am leaving the compound formation to you only. 2 moles of alkene along with, that's it. Do you remember reaction with iodine? Glycol's reaction with iodine. A glycol, when it is reacted with iodine, what is the formed compound? How? First it will form, yes, correct, vinyl diiodide. Then after, it is highly unstable, that is why I2 molecule will be eliminated and it will form an alkene. Same kind of scenario. Same type of scenario. Okay? And moreover, there is no need to do much, but here you are heating this. That's why. Yeah. Alpha forms and beta forms of sulfur change reversibly between themselves with a slow heating or slow cooling. Last, when we are discussing, we talked about the sulfur. That when we talked about the sulfur, we talked about S2 molecule. S2 molecule is paramagnetic, similar to O2 molecule. At the same day, I spoken like this. Alpha rhombic, when it is heated up to 94.5 degrees Celsius, converted to beta monoclinic. Yes, they are reversible, definitely. That temperature we can call it as transition temperature. When we heat it up to 200 degrees Celsius, it started converting into the melting. Then after, when we heat it up to more than 444 degrees Celsius, it will be converted to S6. Then after converted to S4. Then after strong heating converted to S2. That is paramagnetic. And it exists only at high temperature, not at the low temperatures. Right? This statement is true. Next one. At room temperature, the stable crystalline form of sulfur is monoclinic. No, rhombic. Rhombic converted to monoclinic after heating to 94.5. Okay? Now see, simple this. This is very simple, quite easier one. Yeah. If AB dissociate to an extent of 75%, AB dissociate to an extent of 75%, 1 plus alpha, that is equal to 1.75. Now the molality of the solution which shows 2.5 Kelvin rise in the boiling point, delta TB is equals to 2.5. Delta TB is equals to I into KB into M. Delta TB 2.5, this is 1.75, KB 0.52, M you have to calculate. Is there anything else? Nothing, no? It's quite easier question. Nothing, no problems. Good. The number of compounds in the given below which contains COOH group. Sulfonilic acid contains SO3H. Next, picric acid, OH benzene nucleus, OH 3NO2 groups rabbi. Picric acid, this is picric acid. Aspirin, you know, ester will be there. Ascorbic acid, butyric acid, ascorbic acid, propanoic acid, they contain COH group. Next, the rate constant of a reaction increases by 5 times on increase the temperature from 27 degrees Celsius to 52 degrees Celsius. The value of activation energy in kilojoules per mole. So after explaining this, I will tell you another one more question. Okay, look at this. Here they are asking that log K2 divided by K1 is equals to A divided by 2.303 R into 1 by T1 minus 1 divided by T2 rabbi. Log K2 by K1 is equal to log 5 is equal to activation energy, something which is, okay, we have to calculate activation energy. 2.303 into 8.314, 1 divided by T1, 1 by 300 minus 1 divided by 52 plus 273. So here we can get, it is okay. But what I am anticipating, it's my just purely anticipation, okay? For every 10 degrees Celsius rise of temperature, rate of reaction increases by 2 times or 3 times, which is known as temperature coefficient. What is that? Temperature coefficient, okay? Now remember this, what is the temperature coefficient? KT plus 10 divided by KT. This is known as temperature coefficient, which is denoted with phi or capital T, something, whatever it is. I usually represent with phi, okay? So this is the temperature coefficient. Something they have given like this question. The question is given like this. Look at this. Phi is equals to 2. If temperature increased from, if the temperature is increased by from 20 degrees Celsius to 40 degrees Celsius, what is the rate of reaction? How can you increase, how can you assess? For every 10 degrees Celsius, 2 times. Therefore here 20 to 30, 30 to 40, therefore 4 times. If R is the rate of reaction or rate constant, it can be increased by 4k times. 4k, right? But my question is, if it is increased from 20 degrees Celsius to 35 degrees Celsius, how many times it is increased? What is your answer? You are increasing 15 degrees Celsius here. For every 10, 2. You cannot take 3. So you are more viable to mathematics, right? How can you calculate this? Have any idea to calculate this? Actually, what we will do here, for example, I am talking about this. We will see this one. I will talk about this in a different manner. Just look at this. 5 power T2 minus T1 divided by 10 times increased. What did you say? If you have a doubt, I will show you. That is, rate constant is increased by 5 power T2 minus T1 divided by 10. 5 is how much? 2. T2 minus T1. I am substituting this. Because you know this one na answer, that is why I am substituting this. 40 minus 20 divided by 10 ra. How much? 2 square, that is? Answer, you got the answer na? Same thing you apply here. 2 power 35 minus 20 divided by 10. That is equals to 10, 10. Yeah, that is equals to 2 power. Those many times increased. I am anticipating it. Okay? Because to this extent, JEE Mains not went to this extent. But I'm just anticipating, because when I was teaching to this LT people last maybe some couple of days or maybe some 10 days back, I have given this type of question. So anyway, I was given to them and we are in that situation. So why don't I tell to you, if it is useful, you can use it. If it is asked, you will be very lucky. Among the following numbers, metals which can be used as electrodes in the photoelectric cells. Which metals can be used in the photoelectric cells? What are those? Cesium. What is that metal? Cesium or rubidium? Rubidium. Rubidium and potassium can be used. Rubidium as well as potassium can be used. Cesium is a liquid. If you look at that one, you can understand. It is there in S block elements. Cesium is a liquid. So rubidium was the answer, will be the answer. Rubidium as well as potassium, both can be used. But among them, rubidium could be the best one. Because of down the group, atomic radius increase, the ability to give out the electrons will be increased. The spin-only magnetic moment for the bivalent, Cu2 plus, Cu2 plus, there will be only one unpaired electron. So square root of 1 into 1 plus 2, square root 3, 1.732 is the answer. Right? Answer is, they might be rounded off. They might be rounded it off. 1.732 na? You can check once. The spin-only magnetic moment, divalent aqueous, and atomic number 29. Atomic number 29, which means copper plus 2. D9 configuration. It has only one unpaired electron. Square root of 1 into 1 plus 2, square root 3, 1.732. They might have rounded it off to the nearest integer. So that must be given, but they did not take it out here. If you check your original paper, then they must have given in the brackets. Even I have not seen the original paper, I have seen this one only. But answer should be 1.732. If it is rounded off, then therefore it should be correct. Yeah, electromagnetic radiation of wavelength 663 nanometers. This is quite easier one. E is equals to hc by lambda. You could not expect better than this. The only difficulty is calculation. The only thing is calculation, nothing else. E is equals to hc divided by lambda. That's it. Happiest question. Yeah, consider the titration of NaOH solution versus 1.25 molar oxalic acid. At the end point, following burette readings were observed. 4.5, 4.5, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4. What is the meaning of this? You're not doing the practicals now? Whenever you are doing the titration, first of all, whenever you are doing the titration, for example, you have done the titration. You got the value something like 10.5. For that, what will you do? Again, you will do the same practical. If you got the same value, again 10.5, sometimes they will go for the third time accuracy. That is, if you get again 10.5, the same, therefore the answer is 10.5. Otherwise, for example, you got first time 10.5, second time 11.2, third time 14.6, you have done absolutely wrong. No point of taking the value. So whatever the burette readings they are giving, all those burette readings, these are repeated values. 4.5, 4.5, that is okay. But again, look at this. 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, which means that what is the meaning of this? And the volume, the volume should be 4.4. Here, what is the N1 V1 is equals to N2 V2. But oxalic acid is given 1.25 molar oxalic acid, 1.25 into its X factor is equals to 2, X factor 2, volume 10 ml na. Volume of oxalic acid 10 ml, sodium hydroxide reading is 4.4. Right now, they're asking the molarity of definitely sodium hydroxide, that is okay. X factor into 10, that is equals to 4.4 into m or n, because anyway its X factor is equals to 1. Nearest, round it off to the nearest integer. You might definitely get the answer, definitely you'll get the answer. See, practical organic chemistry, practical inorganic chemistry, and practical volumetric analysis, they have given 3 questions in this paper. Because do remember that NTA prepared according to NCERT syllabus, not according to our state syllabus. There are more than 25 states. Every state is having its own kind of textbooks and all, but they never prepare according to our wish, which means that our state board textbooks are something else. They have their prescribed book and their prescribed syllabus is NCERT. NCERT practicals, NCERT theory books. We don't have this much exposure in our state government books, but this is there in the NCERT. These are all there in NCERT. So even maybe some 3 or 4 years back, even I did not I used to teach CBSE, but last 4 years I taught to especially CBSE students. So that's why we got to know that okay, these are all there in, absolutely these are all there in their syllabus. Next one, 5 moles of an ideal gas 293 Kelvin is expanded isothermally from an initial pressure of 2.1 megapascal to 1.5 megapascal, 1.3 megapascal at constant external pressure of 4.3 megapascal. The heat transferred in this process is, it is expanded isothermally. Delta U is equals to Q plus W ra. Isothermal process. Isothermal process delta T 0. If delta T is 0, delta U 0, delta H 0. Okay. Now Q is equals to minus W. What you have to calculate? If you want to calculate heat, you must calculate work. Work done is equals to minus P external into delta V. Whatever the sign you will get here, opposite sign you have to get, because minus W. Q means minus W. So external pressure we know 4.3 minus V2 minus V1. Since it is an isothermal process, P1 V1 is equals to nRT. P2 V2 is equals to nRT. V1 is equals to nRT by P1. V2 is equals to nRT by P2. What did you say, right? So substitute in this. 4.3, of course this is megapascal, I know. Why I am keeping like that, I will tell you. This is V2 is equals to nRT divided by P2 minus nRT divided by, here megapascal, here also we will substitute in megapascal. Megapascal gets cancelled. Here also that megapascal gets cancelled. No issue with the pressure. Okay. So 4.3, n value 5, r value they might have given 8.314, directly substitute. 5 into 8.314, 4.3 into 5 into 8.314 into temperature is also given. 293. 293 divided by 1 minus P2 value. Where is the P2 value? Sorry, where is the P2 value? What is the P2 value? Please tell me. 1.3. Yeah, okay, right. Yeah. 1.3 minus 1.13. 1 divided by 1.3 minus 1 divided by, therefore that could be the answer. This is which process? Tell me, this is which process? Isothermal irreversible process. If it is isothermal reversible, what is my formula? You know very well, physics formula, you will use it. W is equal to minus 2.303 nRT log V2 divided by V1. That is reversible. This is irreversible. That's why we have taken in a single step. Similarly, adiabatic reversible, adiabatic irreversible. If it is adiabatic reversible, what we will do? NCV delta T. That's it, na? NCV delta T. If it is reversible, sorry, irreversible, I'll do the same thing. Minus P external into V2 minus V1, but there P1 change, V1 change, T1 also can change. I'll substitute directly. I'll get the answer. Okay, ma? Right? Next. Yeah. Copper reduces NO3 minus into NO and NO2 depending upon the concentration of HNO3 solution. So partial pressure of NO is equal to partial pressure of NO2. HNO3 concentration at which thermodynamic tendency for reduction NO3 into NO and NO2 by copper is the same. Is 10 power x molar. The value of 2x is. So what we have to calculate here is copper reduces NO3 minus into NO and NO2 depending upon the concentration of HNO3. True. Okay. Fixed. Assuming Cu plus 2 concentration is fixed, partial pressure of NO and NO2 both of them are equal. HNO3 concentration at which thermodynamic tendency for reduction of NO3 minus into NO and NO2 by copper is the same is 10 power x. The value of 2x is. So what we have to do here is copper should be converted to, it is reacting with NO3 minus and it is converting into Cu plus 2 NO as well as NO2. Right? So now QC is equals to here two types of reactions are there. What are those two different types of reactions that we have? Those are Cu will be converted to Cu2 plus, NO3 minus will be converted to NO, NO3 minus will be converted to NO2. Therefore, here two different type of cells are there. What are those? Cu gives rise to Cu plus NO3 minus gives rise to Cu2 plus NO. Another reaction, Cu reacted with NO3 minus gives rise to Cu2 plus NO2. We have two different type of cells. Okay. Right. Now they have given E naught of Cu plus 2 Cu, E naught of NO3 minus to NO, E naught of NO3 minus to NO2 they have given. And here this is one cell and this is another one more cell. For here if you want to get this type of cell, what do you have to do? What we have to do? First write this cell and write this cell. Okay? If you subtract from this cell to this cell, therefore you will get this one. And their QC value is equal to how much? 10 power x. We know E naught of this cell minus E naught of this cell minus E naught of this cell is equals to E naught of this overall cell. Okay? 10 power x value we have to calculate. Simple, you will get it. It's not a big issue. Otherwise, we'll see. Because now we are running out of time, that's why. Another one. The unit cell of copper corresponds to face-centered cubic edge length 3.596 angstrom units with one copper atom at each lattice point. The calculated density of the copper kg per meter cube. Molar mass. Face-centered cubic, edge length A is equals to 3.596. One copper atom at each. Okay. Z effective is equals to how much, Rabbi? 4. Density is equals to Zm divided by A cube into N naught. Z value 4, M value 63.54. Very cruel values here. 6.022 into 10 power 23 whole cube. Sorry, N naught. A is equals to how much? What is the A value here? Yeah, A is equals to 3.596 into 10 power minus 8 centimeters. 10 power minus 8 centimeters. So that is equals to 3.596 into 10 power minus 8 centimeters whole cube. This is not the answer. This is the answer in grams per centimeter cube. We have to convert into kg per meter cube. Otherwise, sir, I am comfortable for doing here, you can do. That is 3.596 into 10 power minus 10, yeah, 10 power minus 10 meters. Substitute 10 power minus 10 meters whole cube. Here 63.54 into 10 power minus 3. Therefore, you will get straight away answer. Okay, clear? So these are all the different things. This is the question paper. It's not that difficult, not that time taking also, except 1 or 2 calculation. If you feel that the calculation is little big, you can